Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at the Thermaltake View 600 TG. This one here. And some of you may have noticed something slightly different already. It's huge. It is a big case. This is supporting EATX motherboards and smaller boards, should you wish to. Also has room for two 420mm AIO radiators, one on the top, one on the side, and basically any other sizes you wish to think of in those places. Also, you can put another one in the back. Loads of fans. This thing is absolutely huge. And also, it's very, very modular indeed. Lots of little panels which you can peel off, remove, loads and loads of filtration. Basically, the whole thing is a big filter, other than a little bit on the back. This thing is pretty insane, and it comes in at a pretty friendly retail price of £129.99 here in the UK. Obviously, as always, we'll put links in the video description so you can check out your local pricing. But yeah, for £130 for a case of this size and capacity and flexibility, I think is something pretty special. And also, Thermaltake, in their wisdom, being that it is the era of the LCD, there's also an additional 6-inch LCD panel which can be installed in this front section here. That is an optional extra. The price for that will also be linked in the video description. I don't want to put you off too early. It's a nice screen, but a little bit on the pricey side. So potentially if you do want to go for the full Monty and have the LCD, it is going to cost you more, closer to £200 all in. But still, I think this is a great case. Lots of flexibility. In today's video, we can go through, do a little bit of a teardown, see what it's all about. We actually did a longer video with a complete teardown and interactive questions in our live stream. So if you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to. We'll try and link that in the video description as well. It's quite an interesting one. Actually, as I was going through it, I did learn a few things of how things actually worked, which some things aren't entirely apparent, but we'll go through that in this video. So yeah, we're going to do a teardown, see what it's all about, show you what fans fit where, and basically my initial thoughts on this. I am planning on actually transferring my streaming PC rig, which is behind me, in the old trusty Series 500, into this case, and doing a nicer updated build before we switch it all over to a black themed PC. But this, I think, is going to be a nice interim solution, and the cooling is going to be great on this. There's loads and loads of places for fans, as we've already mentioned. So without further ado, let's get into it and start stripping this thing down. Now we'll start off with the front of the PC and kind of work our way around as we go. So on the front, something which those of you, if you've ever seen the Thermaltake Tower series, the new Tower series generally have this kind of hexagonal type front to them, or angled front to them, and this has carried over to the View 600 TG. So we've got 3 tempered glass solid panels on the front or side, whichever way you look at it, and there's also a 4th panel, which is the main one in front. So you've got 4 glass panels on here, which actually does add a little bit to the weight as well, so do bear that in mind. And actually, to take it all apart, it's pretty much a toolless experience, other than some of the thumb screws which have been over tightened at the factory, which is a very common thing. But pretty much everything is on thumb screws or just push panels. So we'll start off at the front here. So with the front panel, push that in, it's on a toggle, and you can just remove this out. So yeah, just plain glass there. There's actually various colors as well. So if you are considering a case of this size, and you want something in maybe a slightly different shade, Thermaltake have actually done what they've done in the past, and they've introduced a whole range of colourful options. So we'll go through those now. I'll show you them from the website. So you can see there's the black, the snow, there's the buttercream, or whatever they call it. Various colours available to you. Also the future dusk, which a lot of people seem to like. So potentially there's going to be something for everybody, whether you just want a typical black case, whether you want a white case, or you want something with a little bit more colour to work with, you certainly can do. And basically they're all exactly the same other than the colours. Other glass to remove, just pull these out. These are on pop pins, so yeah, this pops out, and that one there. So these are on pop panels. The plastic sections in the top, which they actually locate into, you get spares of those included in the kit as well. Or if you've got a 3D printer, you can easily get the STL files and print those off yourself should you ever need to, but there are some included should any of them get fragile over time and accidentally break. So that is the front section. Also, you've got the filters on the bottom. This section as well can be removed. There's a few screws involved. I would probably recommend not really removing that unless you really have to. But where it does start getting a little bit more exciting is actually on the side or the front, depending on which way around you've got it. So some of you probably noticed I've had to change the shot slightly. I had to remove my desk pad because unfortunately this case is so big I cannot actually get all 4 feet on the desk pad at the same time, so it's rocking away. Anyway, to remove the glass panel, very easy to do, just pops out again. There is a little latch on the back, you can do it from either side. Actually, when you get this from the factory, there will be a couple of screws actually in the top of the glass panel to hold it in place. Nice thing, I actually overlooked it to start with. I was like, how the hell does this glass come off? So there are 2 screws in the front panel or glass main panel and also the rear panel as well. So keep it all nice and secure in transit. So yeah, do make sure you take those out. Glass 4mm thick, nice stuff. And then that leads us to the cavernous interior. As you can see inside, wow, interior, I said that very Bristolian, I do apologise. Looking inside, so there's an absolute ton of room to work in here. So again, it will support up to EATX motherboards. Also, if you've taken a look at this on some of the kind of promotional stuff on websites, etc., they don't show you something which I think is very important, which is the rubber grommets on this side section. So actually when you look at it, it looks like it's all really open. Now, of course, we do have certification and also the ability to use the rear connect motherboard. So you've got cutouts for ATX and also micro ATX boards. So plenty of cutouts for those back to front style boards, which means we've also got room in the back for plugging in the cables, which is great. Obviously, you don't have to use a back to front board. You can just use a traditional ATX or EATX board up to 12 by 13 inches, which is the kind of roughly standard size for EATX. We've got loads of options for motherboards there. Also, pass-throughs at the very top. There's no rubber grommets on those, but I think that's fine because generally that's going to be somewhat covered up by possibly fans or radiators in the top, so I won't worry too much about that. But the main part is this section here, and I thought that looked really weird not having rubber grommets in when I saw pictures of it, but actually in the box or in the accessories bag, those are there, so you can just pop those in to make that look a little bit nicer. Also, all of your standoffs are pre-installed. The one in the middle there is one of those kind of locating lugs, so make sure your motherboard's nice and firmly aligned. Also something which is a little bit different because this is basically a full tower case. You have got the additional PCI Express blanking plate at the bottom. Normally you get the traditional 7. This has 8, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 8 blanking plates on the back, all of which are individually removable and also rotatable. So you can rotate that if you are considering doing a vertically mounted GPU in this case. You can do very easily. A couple of screws, you can rotate the whole thing around. There's also additional standoffs which go into this bottom section to put your GPU riser cable into. GPU riser cable not included, as you probably expect. That is one of those things that not everybody wants to use, so it seems pointless to add the additional expense into a case where possibly people are never going to use it. So I do appreciate they're giving you the option to do it if you want to, or save money if you don't. Also in here, so lots of pass-throughs, like I've said, there's some on the side as well. So if you are planning to put a radiator in the side, now this is actually where it gets interesting because very few cases, to my knowledge, actually allow you to do this. So you can actually put up to a 420mm AIO in the right-hand side here, and also in the top as well. And potentially, if you want to, you can do it simultaneously. I can't really see how or why you'd want to, but even if you're doing a custom loop, potentially you could do it that way as well. When it comes to custom loops, I'm not entirely sure radiator-wise if 420s will still be a thing in both positions, but I think it probably should be. Generally, it tends to be a little bit smaller, if anything. So yeah, it should be absolutely fine. Also, again, if you want to put fans in here, so in the side, because it takes a 420, you can put in there 3 140mm fans, you can put 3 120s for a 360. If you want to put a 360 rad in there, 280s, 240s, etc. So lots of flexibility for this side and the top. The top and the side are both on removable plates, which we'll take a look at later. And from what I can tell, they're both interchangeable. So essentially they're both the same top and bottom, which I guess makes it cheaper to manufacture and also makes it a little bit more simple if you actually just want to have a little bit of a switch around. And maybe you've got your radiator mounted on the side and you're thinking, actually, no, I kind of want to have it on the top. So you can just kind of unslide the bracket, move them around, swap them over, which should save a little bit of time in faffing around. Also, there is a blanking plate on this top section as well. So if you are putting a smaller radiator in here, there's a blanking plate, so it doesn't look like there's a big cavernous hole in your case. A couple of screws and you can remove that to give you the full length on this side. Also on this front section, so you've got the option to put fans in here as well. So you can put in 3 140s or 3 120s in this section here. And also, obviously, if you're putting a vertical mount GPU, then you're not really going to be able to move this very easily. So this is the sort of thing you want to do first of all. But this section, the whole plate, actually does come out. So there's a screw there and a screw on this side, if I can just about reach it, because it is quite far away from me right now. And we can undo that, and as you can see, this starts to pop up. And then you can remove this panel in its entirety, so you can mount your fans on there, your cooling equipment, whatever you want to do. Or maybe if you're just trying to do some maintenance, you're trying to maybe grab a wire for your power supply, which is going to be in the power supply basement. Maybe you want to plug in an additional cable. You've forgotten to plug in a SATA cable, or you need an additional PCI Express cable, whatever. Nice, easy access to do that. So because this is quite a big case, moving it around is probably not going to be the thing that's going to be a #1 priority for you. You probably want to just leave it where it is. And quite often with kind of large cases like this, you get to a point where, oh, I want to do something, I want to get access to the power supply. You end up having to unplug everything, take the back panel off, putting it somewhere else to work on. It's a real faff. But with this, nice, easy access to all of the kind of goings on in the bottom section, which is excellent. So we'll take a closer look at what was going on in the bottom section. So we've already removed this panel. As we've said, so you can put fans on there should you wish to. You can also remove these sections as well. So if you want to get access to your power supply, this section here just pops off. And you've got the filtration in as well, nylon mesh filter in there, good for filtration. And also it does hide a lot of things as well. So even if you've got maybe cables and stuff going on there, it does kind of block a lot of it out. So it's not completely easy to see through there, but yeah, it does give it a little bit of a diffusion. Also, this section here, also removable, just like the other one. And also you can replace this section with the 6-inch LCD panel kit, which is available as an additional extra. So you just pop that out, same as the other one, again, mesh filtration. That also gives you access to the hard drive bay. Now you can actually have the hard drive bays and the LCD screen installed at the same time. You can move the bay as well, forward and backwards and in and out. So there's like 2 or 3 locations where you can move it, slide it in kind of that direction, forward and back, and also you can move it physically over this way. Obviously, if you've got a 420 rad and cables down there, then potentially you might not be able to do that, but they've made it as flexible as they possibly can. And in terms of drives in this caddy at the bottom, you can put 2 3.5-inch drives in there, or you can put combinations of 2.5-inch drives should you wish to. So that's great. Lots of drive storage as well. You'd probably expect it because it is a large case. You'd expect to have some facilities to install larger drives if necessary. But if you don't want to use it, you can just slide it out, keep it out of the way to keep that area nice and clean and clear. So that is pretty much it for the basement section. I think this is, I would go as far to say, pretty much perfect in terms of flexibility and also maneuverability. So if you do want to get access to things like your cables, maybe you want to pass up a new cable, maybe you've put a new motherboard in, you want to put some new wires up from the bottom panel, put them up through, plug in your IO connectors, that sort of thing. Again, you can do it without having to kind of rip the whole thing apart, gain access to the back of it, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that is very good. And for the size of the case, it actually makes a ton of sense. And next we'll take a look at the back of the case. So the back of the case, there's no real surprises or anything weird going on here. So at the top, to remove the top panel, there's a couple of thumb screws there. I'll loosen those off now because we'll take a look at that very shortly. There's some interesting stuff going on there. IO panel there, space in the back here for a 120 or 140mm fan or radiator if you really wanted to. Probably would advise against that, but potentially might be something you want to do. Like I said, you've got the rotatable PCI Express slots and 8 slots in there as well. So it is the full ATX or EATX type standard, if that is a thing. At the bottom, ATX power supply section. So you can just unscrew those, mount your power supply into the frame and then slide the whole thing back in along with your wires, etc. And again, like I said before, you can remove these panels on the top and also the side. So if you do want to do your cable management from this side rather than the back side, then potentially you can do that for kind of the majority of your cabling. So yeah, that is excellent. Do like that a lot. Next, we'll take a look at the bottom section. So again, full length filter on here. Like I said, Thermaltake are really nailing filtration at the moment. So you can remove that in its entirety. Again, by the time you take into account this length of the case and also the length of this, it's going to need to be somewhere where you've got a little bit of access in front of it. So yeah, do be mindful of that. Otherwise it's going to be moving your PC time. But feet are nice and big, so lots of airflow is going to get in underneath, which is a comment which I've had about a few other manufacturers recently, where they seem to be putting smaller and smaller feet on cases, which you'd think really they want to put bigger and bigger to get more air underneath. But these are pretty much perfect. They're not too large, they're not too small. They are definitely in the Goldilocks zone. And also you can see now there's the screws for the hard drive cage, rubber grommets as well to remove vibrations, which is excellent. And again, you've got a big area here for getting air into your power supply. Power supply wise, you can put a power supply in here pretty much any size that you can think of. Realistically, there isn't a limitation to that. So yeah, if you want to put in like a 1200 watt, 1400 watt power supply, easy to do, loads and loads of room to do it. Also, I should have mentioned as well, actually, which I haven't already, when it comes to your graphics card lengths, swing this precariously into place. Graphics cards up to 480mm in length, because yes, it's huge. If for some reason you had a radiator and fans which protruded past the length of the motherboard, then that is going to reduce it down to somewhere around the sort of 415 level, I think, 410, 415, but still absolutely huge. Graphics cards are going to be no problems in here whatsoever. Obviously, if you have it vertically mounted, then again, you can use the full length anyway, because it does come out slightly from where the motherboard would normally rest. So next we'll take a look at the top of the case. So I've undone the thumb screws already, so this panel just lifts backwards and out. Nice metal construction. Also, there's a full-length filter in there, which is removable, and obviously you can clean that as well. So just to stop debris getting in your case, or to possibly filter air if you're using it as an intake on the top, that is entirely up to you. And also we can see now we've got this section here, which if we undo the screw, if I can find it, yep, here it is. So there is a screw. You can leave the screw out if you want to. It's not really necessary. Just undo that. You can slide this section forward, and then this whole bracket comes out. So this is exactly the same as the one which is in the right hand side of the case. So if you wanted to kind of change them around, you certainly can do. So yeah, that's nice. And also again, rubber grommets on there to prevent damage to the paintwork, and also more importantly to reduce vibrational noise going through the chassis, which is pretty nice. Like that a lot. And just slide that back into place, put the screw in. I'm going to put the screw in, you don't have to, but it's probably best if you are going to be moving the case around a little bit so it doesn't fall apart. So now we can take a look inside the back. So as you can probably guess, there is a filtered section here. So if you've got a radiator either as intake or exhaust, doesn't really make much difference which you do. Ideally, I guess you probably want to have as intake your fans. If you've got the ability to do that, you don't have to. There's going to be so much airflow in here, and also because you've got this section on the back which is pretty open, it's going to be relatively kind of equalized pressure in there. So yeah, it isn't going to make a great deal of difference either way. I wouldn't be too concerned of which fans should I have and which way round should I have them. Really, see, there's so much filtration and so many kind of holes here that I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. To remove the back panel, there's a little indentation at the back, so pop those out and lift that out of the way. And if I spin that round, you can see there is the filter, nylon mesh filter, which is washable, removable, all that kind of stuff. Just if it ever gets dirty, put it in the sink, bit of fairy liquid or whatever, and yeah, it's good to go after it's dried out. And with that out of the way, we can see again, we've got this panel here, 2 screws there to remove the blanking plate for your AIOs or fans if you're putting those in there. There is a screw at the top, same as what we had on the top of the case. So I move it up, it's on rubber dampeners, exactly the same design, so those are interchangeable. And again, you can see here, you can put in there 3 140mm fans, 3 120s, 2 140s, depending on what you want to do. The choice is entirely up to you. And also, choice is up to you about where you put stuff, because there's so much room back here. Because it's designed for having a back to front board, they've obviously given a little bit more depth in the back for cable management, etc. And again, because it's such a huge case, there is so much room for cable management. There's tie down points kind of all along down the back here, on the inside and also on the outside for cable managing your cables when your build is finalized. You've got all the pass-throughs there to put your cables through for fans, AIOs, etc. There are some strap points here. I've actually put one of these Thermaltake straps in. You do get a bunch of those actually included in the accessories kit, which you're probably seeing at the moment from some B-roll. So in the accessories kit, you get a roll of Thermaltake Velcro straps. You also get the individual ones, which have been pre-sized. You also get all the mounting equipment, and also there is a GPU bracket as well, should you need it. So again, more drive storage. You can put the drives in the bottom, as we've already said. There's also this panel here, which is removable on a single thumb screw. You can put 2 2.5-inch drives on there, or a single 3.5. Very similar to how the Series 300 or the Series 500 work. So if you've ever used one of those, it's basically the same sort of deal there. Again, back connect motherboards, easy to connect up, etc. Loads of room in the bottom for power supplies. You've got this hulking great basement there. And that takes us down to the front panel connections. So front panel connections are going to be no real surprises here. HD audio, all color coded nicely. So if you are wiring it from that side, you're not going to see any of those awful ketchup and mustard type cables. USB 3.0, 2 cables there. So that means 2 type A ports. You also got a USB type C, 10 gigabit per second. And also you have got your front panel block connector, so nice and easy, just plug that in and your power button, reset button, hard drive LEDs, etc. are all going to just work without having to faff around with individual pins, which is fantastic. And I suppose with that said, we should take a look at the front panel IO. So it is actually at the top of the case, at the top front, and I'll probably get you some B-roll of this because it's hard to actually get into the shot because this is such a big case, but it's all on this top panel here. I think in hindsight, it might have been a nicer solution because of actually how big it is to potentially have the front IO actually at the front or the bottom. I know there's going to be some people who are for and against it, depending where you're putting your PC. I'm guessing this is a bit of a kind of a throwback to when people used to put their cases on the floor and then you'd have your IO at kind of like desk level. But I don't think there's going to be many people that are going to put this on the floor. You shouldn't really put a PC on the floor because of all the dust, but I guess some people will do. Yeah, for that reason, I guess it makes sense. But because again, it's such a big case, very tall, trying to work out which button is which or which way your USBs go is going to be a kind of, you're going to have to peer up and see it if it's on your desk at least. Yeah, would have been nice to have it a bit lower down, I think personally, but I don't think it's the end of the world. And realistically these days, how often do you actually plug in USB devices? Normally we've got a ton of things plugged in the back. Maybe if, sync in photos from your phone or something, but that can all be done by wirelessly these days. So other than doing things like BIOS updates and stuff like that, do you use your front panel very much? Let me know. I'd be interested to hear. Obviously for the power button, that's going to be quite easy to locate because it's dead center in the middle and nice big clicky button. So yeah, you haven't really got any problems in that regard. The only problem I think that you will have with this is actually if you do get the LCD kit, what to put on the screen. So we'll have a quick look at the LCD panel kit. So that is the 6-inch LCD panel kit. And again, because Thermaltake being Thermaltake, you've got the option for black, snow, future dusk, butter caramel, and also mint strawberry. Mint strawberry is not my favorite, but I know there's going to be people that do like it. So it is available. And in the kit, you get your instructions, all the usual stuff. This works with the Thermaltake TT RGB Plus software, which is now on version 3, which is much improved. And this is the panel kit. Again, you've probably seen it from some B-roll already. So 6-inch panel kit, which goes into this location here. There is a USB Type-C connection for power and data on the bottom there. And also included in the packaging is a special right angle connector, so that when it's actually plugged in there, it doesn't obstruct anything, and obviously being right angled as well means you can kind of route the cables away and not interrupt your hard disk drives, etc. With the panel, yeah, the problem is, what are you going to display on the panel? Now, for me personally, I like to see things like my system temperatures, RAM usage, that sort of thing, but perhaps you want to see something else on there, maybe gifs of cats, maybe one of your favorite videos, or a clip, a JPEG, whatever. I've tried it today, and you can upload your own videos in MP4 formats. You can also upload JPEGs, GIFs, etc, etc. Some codecs on some videos may not be fully supported. That is probably a work in progress. It is quite new, this actual setup. You can also, if you wanted to, actually use their kind of AI creation tool. Now, the AI creation tool is included in Thermaltake software, although it does require a connection, or at least have a credit card on file to ChatGPT, I think it is. Links for that will be in the video description. I haven't done that because I don't like the idea of subscription AI stuff. I don't like the idea of AI stuff, full stop, really. I know it's cool for some things, but yeah, for this sort of thing, I'd much rather create my own images, and perhaps you would too. But if you want to, you can use Thermaltake's AI Forge and create some custom images or GIFs if you wanted to. That is definitely a thing. But I think for me personally, things like the weather, system temperatures, that is pretty much where it's going to end for me. You can also select an area on your screen, on your desktop, and actually have that area reproduced actually on there. So maybe if you've got like a small hardware monitor window, you could maybe have that and have your hardware monitor info on here, possibly. Lots and lots of options, and as with the Thermaltake TT RGB software. It is a constantly evolving thing, and new and more wonderful things are coming out all the time. So yeah, it's going to grow with you and is somewhat of an investment. They're not cheap, but it is custom made, the panel, etc., to fit in there. So it's a kind of a one and done solution. You pay the price, it works, the software works, it all ties in nicely. And if you want to use other things, such as maybe one of the MagFlow Ultra coolers with the screens on, all that kind of stuff, you can use all of that at the same time. So maybe one can show you GPU temps, one can show you CPU temps. There's tons and tons of options and flexibility. So ultimately it's going to be down to you to decide what you actually do with it. I see you're probably seeing for some B-rolls, some things I've shown on there, time clock, etc., videos, even the mic's unboxing logo at times. So again, it's a very flexible thing. It's a shame there isn't a way that actually you could make it into a secondary monitor, to have it as a dedicated monitor. I think that would be quite cool. Maybe they can add that in at a later date. Maybe if we all ask them, they might do it. Who knows? Anyway, I'm waffling on way too much now. This has been a big case, and there's a lot to discuss and lots to talk about and lots of potential things you can do with this to make it your own. So again, when it comes to AIOs, 420 in the top, 420 in the side. If you're going to be doing air cooling, which I don't think many people will, but it will hold a air cooler of up to 175 millimeters in height. So if you are kind of holding on to your older big tower coolers, then they will fit in there pretty easily. Even things like some of the larger ones on the market, like D15s, etc. That isn't going to be too much of a problem at all. But I think this case really screams out for water cooling in some form or other, whether it be an open loop or whether it be an AIO. An AIO is obviously going to be the cheaper way to do it. And yeah, you can get a really good look. Lots of fans on there, and obviously lots of RGB should you wish to. And of course it comes in all those colors we've already mentioned. So I think there is pretty much something for everyone. I think most people are going to like the design of this case. Whether or not they like the price, that is another matter. Again, the price of this, the estimated retail price is $129.99, and I believe it's actually at Scan UK. November is the time of recording this, so this is November the 12th, I believe it is today. So it's £130 from Scan currently. Potentially there might be some deals for Black Friday or coming up to the holiday season, so do keep your eyes out for that. But I think that's going to pretty much wrap this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, smash the like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe, and don't forget to hit the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing, Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.